Recording.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Dean Velez, and I'm here hanging out with my great friend, Erika Taguchi. We meet up every morning and just talk about art and talk about what projects we're working on. We've been doing this for a long time. We thought we'd start sharing our conversations.
We've been working for a long time, but the video, the recording, we've
been
only
talking
started.
too. We've been talking.
Well, no, we've been talking, yeah, but not recording.
Oh, yes. So the recording is new.
Yeah.
So the recording is actually new.
This, yeah, show. Is it a show? I don't know.
I don't know if it's a show or not.
Yeah, it is.
I think
we just started Monday, which was 4 days ago. So this is the fourth day.
Yes, this is the fourth day.
Today's I thought it was Thursday, Dean. Thursday.
Yeah, yeah. So just so everybody knows, I had a mini stroke, so I don't remember a lot of stuff. So this is also to help with that and to help the connections and the synapses work a little bit better.
I like how you just said, I had a mini stroke. And, you know,
a little bump in the road.
Yeah.
A little bump in the road. So yeah, we're decided to record this. I think also because both of us are somewhat forgetful because we're so busy. Oh. And this is like our notes that we can refer to on the projects and just some topics that we talk about. Before we get started, I just want to thank the patrons that have been following along. So thank you, Bert and Sonia and Roz and Drew and Christian and Erika for supporting. And just to let you know, guys, we're going to keep doing this as long as possible. We will shift into talking about different things. Right now, our main focus is talking about art and also talking about a current project that we're working on, and we're splitting up the time between art and our project. So just general views of art. So it will probably become more general views of art as we move on, as we get the project done, just to let you know. And if a new project comes up that we're working on, then it'll do the same thing. We're trying to get some kind of format. So we'll get our groove sooner or later. But we've been taking turns at making suggestions on how the topics that we want to talk about. Yesterday, Erika chose a topic, and then today Erika said me. So I'm gonna just pull something out of the air that concerns both of us. And one of the things
I haven't heard what the topic is, so
I'm thinking of it. I'm actually stalling for time.
Oh.
I am talking on top of it, and in the back I'm going, what the heck are we going to talk about?
That would be a good topic. Presentation, right? Like,
okay,
when we have to present our art to a client, a colleague, whatever, our idea, like you're really good at, you know,
stalling.
Coming up with
I'm really good at really good at stalling.
And yeah, you're really good at that. And that, how do you think you got good at that? Were you a natural?
I actually have a day that I got good at it, and I have an actual reason. No, seriously. So most artists, and I don't know, I think I can speak for you a little bit. Maybe you correct me, but most artists, I think, we're introverts, and we start out as introverts. We're so in our own heads, and we're in our own work, and we don't need to talk. We don't actually need to interact because our world, or
we're hoping our art will speak for our, speak for itself. Not that doesn't really work.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't work, especially with clients. Yeah. So for me, my first job, which was a creative job, was at a sign shop, and it was in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, remember that was oh my God, that was so long ago. But It's the first and only time that I was fired. And I was fired because I was told I didn't smile enough and I didn't interact enough. And it wasn't
You?
yeah, yeah, because
Mm.
I had another side of it. I had the side that
Oh,
I
you were an angry little man back then.
yeah. Oh, I've
Like
been angry all oh my god, I've been angry for I was born angry. Injustice. I do not like when people take advantage of other people. So injustice, that's my call to arms. But I had friends that I was open with my friends, but outside of that friend group, that was it. I would not talk, I would not interact, I would not go out of my way. And I was let go because I didn't smile and I didn't interact. It wasn't because of the quality of my work. They said you actually do you do good work, but you're a buzzkill. Like they didn't
wow.
say in that those words, but let's be honest. It was like if you're getting let go because you're not interacting and you're not smiling, it's because you're a buzzkill and you're bringing everybody down. And
You.
that, go ahead.
You were wow. I can't imagine. Like I don't think you ever told me this. So
No, that's a dirty little secret Dean Velez does not talk about. That is an embarrassing
so you
thing.
decide to tell it now and record
Yeah, I'm
it for
51
all
years old,
posterity.
and I don't care now what anybody thinks of me. You think whatever you want. Um, it takes a long time for you to get comfortable in your own skin, and I think finally I have. So
Not me.
I left that job, and I thought to myself, I really never want to be told that again. I don't want to be one, I don't want to be fired from that. Two, I just don't want to be told that again. And I went and kind of just pulled how I was with my friends because we were hanging out at that time. And I was open with you the day I met you. Like I was an open book. And I usually am, I usually can be like that with people I immediately like. So I just started pushing that into the rest of my life. I started pushing that, just that, and it wasn't a lot of effort. It wasn't like I had to change myself. It was just like, okay, well, I do it with this group of people. Well, why can't I do it with this group of people? And that's I had two years in college to kind of practice um, those techniques of speaking. And one of my mentors, and Mike Carnegie,
Oh,
um,
Mr. Carnegie. Yeah.
Mr. Carnegie, he opened a door for me and your husband to join AdFed, the Ad Federation,
Hmm.
and that's where we actually became friends, you and I, and me and Kyle. Um, and one of the things that we had to do presentations, and Mr. Carnegie would bring me places, and he just throw me out there to talk. So it was always winging it, and I had a backup. Like this guy would when I got lost in the conversation, Mr. Carnegie would start talking, and he would pick it up, and it just made me comfortable. And also, your husband Kyle is a born speaker. Like that man, talk
Yes.
about presenter.
Yes.
That man can speak. He knows his information. He knows how to talk. He sticks to landing. He's really. He's always been good at it. He's always been good at it. And teaming up and on the Ad Federation with him was like, I gotta say, and I don't think I ever told him this. So hopefully you go and tell him this. He was sort of a mentor too, in a way, in a
Oh,
very specific. No, seriously, in a very specific way. He was outgoing.
yeah.
He was always been, and he could talk to anybody.
Yeah.
He could
That's
talk to
true.
freaking anybody.
I'll
So
have to tell me.
yeah, and so I just kind of followed his lead. And by the time I got out of school, it was stuck. But I know now you were quiet
Hmm.
too when I met you.
You
You
know,
weren't who
so
you are now.
we talk about memory, or just I really don't remember if I was quiet or talkative. in school.
Yeah.
Was I quiet or
You were quiet.
was I? Okay.
Yeah.
So I thought so, but I don't really remember. I think I was very quiet. I was, I had a hard time. Yeah, talking in general is hard for me because it's, um, I can't form words quickly or sentences quickly. My grammar is really bad and pronunciation is really bad. English is a second language, and so I've always been conscious of the way I talk and shy about it. You know Um, so, and I do a lot of ums and likes and
Oh, gee.
stuttering and lose my thought. And then I don't know if I ever told you in school. This is back in school, and I did a poster for design honors. Right? Was it design honors?
Yeah,
Is
we were
where we
designers.
did like real work
Yeah.
for and they asked me the I think it was a city of Fort Lauderdale. It was a poster for like an art festival or
You know,
something.
we both worked on that same project.
We did, right? Okay, you were
Yeah,
yeah,
that
you
was
remember
me next.
the
I was sitting right next to you.
yeah, you
Yes, your
remember that
memory is
project, right? Okay. Look, my memory, I told you.
horrible.
Hmm. You were there. So you probably know the art I'm talking about with the
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
okay.
absolutely.
So they asked me to do, I don't know if you remember, they asked me to do not sand painting, sidewalk drawing
Yes.
at the show, right? This big, like they got me like a space to do chalk drawing. Now, I've never done it before. Okay, sure, I'll do it. And then they had somebody from local cable network interview me, like with the big camera. Back then, the big
Yeah,
cameras, right?
huge. Yeah,
Right, the big
yeah.
um and I don't remember
Blanked
at
out.
all what happened. I remember the blackbirds coming in from my peripheral vision and totally, I might have fainted. I don't know.
Wow.
I mean, and I don't know what said. I don't know the question. Like it was bad. And ever since then, I can't talk on camera. Like I can't, if there's a camera, now those were big cameras,
Yeah. And
right?
then they're intimidating. They're
Yeah,
absolutely
or
intimidating.
now, if somebody puts a camera and like asks me questions, blackbirds come in and I start feeling that I'm going to faint. Somebody catch me, And so this is really hard for me. This like recording and
Right.
talking because I see the blackbirds every once in a
Right.
while
Right.
while we talking. And but it's different because it's not a camera. It's a computer camera. And this
You
last
have a face
year,
that you know on the other side.
right? And then this last year, we had to talk on Zoom or whatever to
Right.
get to work. So I got used to doing that and see myself talking and um so yeah, so that incident has really
It's the defining moment.
defining moment, yeah. So I it's fear. That it's a fear that I have of
Yeah.
talking on camera. And I ignored it. I mean, not ignored it. What do you call it? I
But yeah,
pushed it
for
away.
push through.
Yeah. So talking in front of people, presenting, was really hard for me. But I think after a while, like I worked for web development companies and I had to
Right.
present my projects or my design concepts. Um, I got used to presenting it to a group of people, from a corporation, in a board meeting. And that's why I think I work out all the rationale, all the all the question they could possibly ask me. I'm like, I'm working it out beforehand, and I'm doing my homework, and um, so that I'm ready. I have to prepare myself. Like I can't do
You
let's
and I are completely different.
completely different. Yeah, yeah,
I
completely different. I
I
have
ask
to
for
be
no
ready.
information.
Even now, if I have to go into a meeting, I have to read. It's like I have to read everything about the project. Give me everything, you know, because I will freeze. Well, I don't freeze, not anymore, but I feel like I will.
Right.
I feel like the birds will start coming
Right.
in, and I will freeze. So I try to prepare myself
Right.
a lot before.
I think it's funny you say that the whole blackbird thing. I totally get that. I totally get that, and this is a great discussion because this is not something I've never talked about in so far as my presentation background and my fears. Uh, because when I started, it was an actual act of like changing myself to make sure that I didn't get fired.
Hmm.
So it was a conscious effort, and picking up on other people like Kyle and Mr. Carnegie, how they talk and how they interact with other people. But I think that my love of what we're doing, like the art, and has always been my ground or my grounding point that I can kind of hang on to when I'm getting scared. Like even if it is in your peripheral vision, it's just like it's almost you're gonna faint. Excuse me. And it feels like you feel your body just going, okay, we're giving up. We're done. We're done with this. Um, but if I have a project, so I do something that's very similar to yours in a weird sort of way. When you say you go and you know the topic you're talk about or discuss, you research it a lot. I just need to have the imagery always in front of me. There always has to be. I would go to do a presentation, and it's like as long as I have a laptop, it doesn't even have to have anything on it. As long as I have a laptop in front of me, I can do this because
So
at any time
are you doing like a show and tell kind of thing, or it's just for
I
you?
always have something ready. I always have something ready that I can build. I've
Well,
done
I think
presentations.
as a visual, we're both visual people, and artists are
Yes,
visual people. It's easier to explain things visually for us, because we start talking about art, and it becomes this, touchy feely
yeah,
thing,
it is.
and it's hard to, be, Vulcan about it.
Right,
It's hard to be like, scientific about it, or um, black and white about it.
right.
Um, so yeah, I think you have to have some kind of visual to support you. Yeah,
And to keep
I can see
pacing.
that.
If you can keep pacing,
I
like
think I think
I have this visual.
with a lot of projects, if I have to, if I'm not presenting a concept, let's say I'm presenting um, a site flow, website flow,
Right.
how it's going to, I still will have to come in with a site map
Yeah.
or a workflow too, because it's so hard to visualize. Uh,
Yes.
that kind of thing. So yeah, yeah, visual. Yes, we like little whiteboard, drawing on a
Yeah.
whiteboard,
Just something.
right?
Just so there is, and I might have mentioned this to you in the past. So when I started taking teaching and instructing to the point where it's like, okay, I need to get certified in this. I need to because you can't do uh, you can't teach in the schools. I have an associate's degree, so that holds me back from teaching in a lot of schools. So I had to kind of bolster that up by getting certifications, so instructor certifications. And there was a class. And I recommend this to anybody who wants to really go out there and talk to people and present, and even creative directors, art directors, or directors, or management. There is a class called CompTIA Train the Trainer. CompTIA Train the Trainer.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
We'll
COMP.
put that in the descriptions. When you post.
Yeah. When I post this on Patreon, I'll actually have some links to that. But the class, it's a very simple class. All it is I think there's 13 principles for teaching, and you just have to learn these 13 principles. And if you learn these 13 principles, you can teach. But the funny thing is, I swear those 13 principles are all about empathy. All about empathy. And it's looking at the other person you're talking to and kind of going, okay, am I losing interest? Are they getting upset? Are they getting angry? And then learning those visual cues, and it helps you
Mm-hmm.
because even though you don't know them, you're actually concerned for them, which takes the concern for yourself off of yourself. And as soon as that's done, you're actually performing a service. So there have been on many occasions that I go back and I say, thank the good Lord that I took this class, because sometimes I lose myself, and I pick myself up by seeing the audience, and trying to bounce off of the audience to bring myself back in, especially if I see someone smile or someone enjoying the conversation. It's so much easier. I don't know how many client presentations you've done where you look around and go, no one cares. Like, no one cares what I'm saying. No one understands what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like,
they're coming in with their phone and like,
yeah,
yeah,
the kiss of
oh,
death. The kiss of death.
don't
Cell
do
phones have
it.
become the kiss of death for
Yeah,
presentations.
don't
Um,
do that, people. Don't do that. Don't come into a
yeah,
meeting.
don't do
Yeah,
it. That
yeah.
is the most disrespectful thing, and it unnerves everybody around you, and it unnerves the presenter. And if you,
Always come in with a notebook and a pen.
yeah,
Any
make
meeting,
sure, yeah,
notebook and a pen.
yeah,
Even if you're not gonna write anything down, it's very respectful, and
yes.
that you're there for for them. So
The other
I mean, I think it's important to have. I mean, I think from hearing a lot of art directors, or they this person got fired, or this person didn't
yeah,
get fired because they had bad communication skills.
yes, absolutely.
Like you had that problem with your first job. I
Yeah,
think that
learn it
that's
once.
very important, not just to get or keep a job in our industry, but also for your own personal projects. And communication is very important. um
Just in
I can
relationships
think
in general.
about that when I was going to school, like especially high school. I'm like, they had the speech class and the debate, and those would have been great things to be involved in for later in life. But at the time, I'm like, I want to be an artist. I don't want to do that. I want to talk to people. I'm not gonna stand in front of people. And lo and behold, I can't believe I just said lo and behold. But
Oh, please, I
I'm
like it.
I'm presenting to, big corporations, and yeah, it's 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 very important, I think, for artists to be able to communicate.
It's funny that you said that statement of, and I'm going to be an artist.
Yeah,
So I don't. It kind of gives us this out, like an out
yeah,
of life. I'm going to be an artist, so like mine was, I'm going to be an artist, so I don't have to learn how to type.
yeah.
I'm going to be an artist, so I don't have to worry about math. I'm going to be an artist, so I don't have to worry about speaking. Like all of these things. And then when you become a professional artist, especially a professional artist in this day and age, if you can't type, as
Hmm.
someone who can't type, it is a hindrance. It is an absolute hindrance to your livelihood.
And I'm kind of worried for, like, you know, the kids today. No, I'm not talking like, I'm talking like my kid, the
Yeah,
age, a lot of kids, my son's age, they're doing the gaming, and no eye contact with people. I'm
yeah.
teaching my kid to, like, okay, when the waitress comes, you
It's-
know,
yeah.
tell them what you want, so that it's important, it's hard to talk to some people when they're not making eye contact. I know sometimes that's a cultural thing. I understand that. Um, but um, it's 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 better if you make eye contact. I don't know. It
Well,
makes you
it's
it
part
makes
of
you yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
well, it's part of it's part of the thing that communication in art is so important because we're working in an abstract format. We're working in ideas. That's why you have to communicate. There's not an option. There
Yeah.
is because you're basically going, I'm going to come in with a blank slate. So let's just do a mock job real quick. Client comes in. Um, Actually, a client contacted me today. Client contacted me today and said, "Hey, Dean, can you animate a logo?" And I said, "Sure." He goes, "Well, I'm sending you a logo." I said, "Okay, well, give me the budget of this and tell me your deadlines." Well, we don't have that. It's like, okay, well, we need to talk a lot because I need to get to a point where I understand what you want before I ever start working. Because I got to figure out how much this is going to cost, how much time you're going to need. Because if we don't communicate this now, there are just going to be so many problems, and you have to be comfortable communicating. I think it's like talking about costs and time, and oh no, I can't do that, and saying what you can do, and not being afraid of it. The more communication you have, the more visualization of looking into someone's eyes. I'm sorry, I know it's a cultural thing that sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Maybe it's a gender thing, maybe it's a race thing. All of that stuff, I know it comes into play. But you have to look at speaking and talking as a professional tool that we have. It is the best professional tool that we have as artists to actually complete the job.
Hmm.
Without communication, we cannot complete the job to the specifications of the client because we got to talk through it, and it's all abstract. There's We don't start with something. We're one of the few um, professions that start with nothing. And think about that. Think about how crazy that is. What do you do when you start? I got nothing. I got no idea. I haven't been given a script. I haven't been given a color palette. I haven't been given a mood. I haven't been given examples. My client is not another artist. Like, you and I talking about a job, that's totally different. You
But
can,
that's a whole different
yeah, but it's about
communication
communication.
skill. Like,
Yes.
talking to a client who, especially a client that's never done a creative project, that's really hard, because the terminologies you use with your peers, they're not going to understand that.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, and then,
certainly.
if the lawyers are talking to you, you're not going to understand them because
No,
they're,
no. I try to avoid that.
so you have to, you have to be mindful of your client, or even if it's your peer that hasn't had that experience yet, or a different experience. I mean, we always have miscommunications and we get mad at each other,
Absolutely.
and then, that dean doesn't listen to me,
Yeah. Yeah.
and because we have different terminologies for different, for same thing.
Right.
And we come back and we're like, oh, we're talking about the same thing. Why are
Yeah.
we
Different
fighting?
syntax.
Yeah,
Just different
yeah.
way we're saying it.
That's happened with just people who've known forever, each other forever. We have miscommunication. So yeah, it's it's everything is hard.
Yeah. It's really hard, but it's
Yeah,
something that
not
um,
worth doing. I don't know. That's
yeah. And it's something that you have to work on. It's something
Yeah,
that has to be
it's
worked on.
you're always working on it.
Yes. And that's a great thing about it. You can always get better.
Yeah,
It-
and then there is, technology changes, or social media speak, right? Like when emails, God, I'm dating myself. When people started like actually sending emails for projects, they're not calling you, they're emailing you with project specs. And they are terrible at writing email,
oh,
If they're
I'm terrible at writing.
forwarding an email, and you have to figure out a chain of emails. You have to figure out what is it that they're asking me to do. You know, they don't know how to communicate through email. And um there that's a whole new communication skill you have to learn, and learn to decipher
Right.
what they mean. Yeah.
I usually, as soon as someone starts emailing me, I go, okay, I'm not going to be rude, but just put a couple of bullet points in there of what I need to do, because all this other stuff is, as soon as we start this email chain, is just clutter.
Yeah.
It's clutter and clutter and clutter. And please don't put a description, excuse
Oh,
me,
yeah,
in
I
the
have to
text.
always send back a reply that says, "Do you mean for me to do this, 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 this? Please, you know,
Just state that.
confirm."
Yes.
But
Yes.
it's like that one word answer emails.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
It's
like,
really weird. It's really weird. The
you ask two
communication that we have
questions
to
and
do now.
they said yes, and you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's
The communication we have to do now is, and I know I hate to do this. Geez, I never, I hate being that. In my day, we walked up the street, blah, blah, blah,
we've been doing
blah,
that
blah.
for
But
four
I do it to my
videos.
son all the time. I
We've
do it
been
all the
doing
time.
that. Yeah, we've been doing that for 4 videos now. And back in
Yeah.
my day, yeah.
But a lot of this, trying to understand how to talk to each other, um, because we see it as an easier way to communicate. Like, I can just text you.
Hmm.
It's like, no, you can't. Not on a job. You can
Yeah.
text me if you want to go bowling. Yes, you can. You can text me if you're going to be late. Absolutely. But when we're doing a job, um, I need to hear inflection in your voice.
Hmm.
I need to hear that you're happy or not happy with how the project's going, because an art project can go off track fast.
Hmm.
Give it 8 hours. Just give it 8 hours of miscommunication, and it could be somewhere where it doesn't need to be. I have gotten into it with artists on several occasions that I've hired that were not in house. That and I've made the mistake of not having the conversation, the phone call, and had some text, and then came back and was like, "Whoa, what did we do here?" They're like, "Well, blah blah blah," and as someone who contracts other artists and someone who works with clients, there's always finances involved in it. And if
Hmm.
you spent 8 hours going in the wrong direction, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Do I pay you 8 hours of something I can never use? Or as the person who made the mistake, maybe I'm the person who made this mistake, do I say you don't have to pay me for this? You know, that's the risk of the financial risks of miscommunication, um, on this, that can happen at any time.
Yeah. And it's hard, like on the vendor side, like we're considered the vendor side, and there's a client side. On the vendor side, you get an email, and and it sounds like they want to change. You want to be proactive. You don't want to be like wishy-washy, and like you want to be proactive and do the change because you want to be a good vendor. But then you find out like, oh, they were just thinking out loud on the email.
Yeah,
And you
I've
just
had those. Yes.
I'm like,
Yes.
I should have taken the time to like talk to them, call them. Is this something we need to do?
Yeah.
Or email them and say, can you confirm that? But then that can also backfire because they won't get back to you for 3 days, and it's due,
Yeah.
you know, it's
That's a whole other conversation that we need
yeah,
to have.
I know. I'm just bringing up some extreme.
You're going into a whole world of the, yeah, that's
Yeah, it's so hard. And you know, communication sometimes you get too busy and you can't reply, and yeah,
yes.
something happens. So yeah, I understand it, but oh man, it's so hard to make
Yeah, well, I think
decisions on what you read in an email or in a IM, instant
right,
message.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is actually a conversation that can go on really long, and
Yeah.
it's because it opens up, and not in a bad way, but it opens up a lot of new uh,
Yeah, we might have sidetracked a bit because we were talking more about
presentations.
presenting our art
Right.
as
Well,
artists.
I think the communication in that is we're still presenting. We're
Yeah,
still presenting all the
presenting
time.
our ideas
Yes,
to,
we're still presenting our ideas.
the 5 second in elevator spiel that
Yeah.
we hear about. We should learn how to do when
Yes.
we meet somebody and they ask us, "What are you working on?" You should have something ready to, that's
And
engaged.
that's not easy.
No,
That is not
no,
easy.
I usually go, nothing.
I usually go, you wouldn't understand it. I'm like, why am I? Let's not do this. It's going to take too long to just even understand it.
Yeah. It's
Uh,
like you got like 3 hours,
yeah.
or if it's
Yeah.
just 5 seconds, then I'm doing that.
Let's spend a month together and you'll know what I do.
Yeah.
I've hung out with people for years, and they've come in like, I don't know, we're having a beer or a coffee or whatever. Dean, I still don't know what you do. Like, I just talk about it every 5 seconds, but okay. Let's go over one more time. This is what I do.
Any of us do know what others do, really? I mean,
Well, there's
yeah,
terminology that helps it though. If someone says I'm a doctor, then you're just like, you do doctoring things.
yeah, but what do you know what doctors do? No, really.
They do doctor. That's all you
Yeah,
have to know. You just need to know that they're doing doctoring. Same thing with
yeah,
lawyer
yeah.
things. I get that. I get that.
Whatever. I don't know
Uh,
what you do all day, but yeah.
you're doing artist things is basically, what does that even freaking comprehend?
Oh, yeah. Like there's so many
Yes,
different types
it's
of
an
art.
umbrella. It's an
Yeah.
umbrella term
You could
that's
be a
very,
hobby artist and call yourself an artist.
yes,
You're not
yes,
really like your job, but
yes.
you
It can
just,
just be your passion.
yeah, your passion and you're an
Yeah.
artist. And
It's
yeah.
very difficult to pin that down. So it's very, that's again another communication point.
Can I just say how big my coffee cup looks on the look at this thing. Look, it's bigger than my face. Look at that. It's crazy. I'm like drinking like I'm holding it with 2 hands.
It
So
takes a lot to wake up these days. There's a lot of caffeine needed. All right, well, we're gonna end on that. And again, if anybody has any questions they'd like to pose for us to discuss, we will also be bringing in more people into this little circle of two that we've created here. Um,
Mhm.
so if there are other topics that we know people that might come in, just just request it or ask it. For right now, we're just kind of winging it and just trying to see what works and see what our flow is together.
I want to know like what is something that they said, or you know how they presented something and it was like a total flop, or something funny.
Can I tell you a flop story? Can
Sure.
we end on a flop
I
story? I'm
want
like,
I want to hear some like disaster
okay. So this
presenting.
is my disaster story. Um, I was invited to the Savannah Film Festival. This is years ago, and I was contracting for Adobe, and I was going to show, I think, color correction in film was the topic. We got there and I forgot a cable.
A cable?
Just cable, like a HDMI
I
cable.
think it's a cake, but that's a
I,
different.
I did forget a cape too, but I forgot a cable. And so how the setup is, if you look back there, you can see a Creature of the Black Lagoon kind of poster
Mhm.
behind that wall. So that's about how far the monitor is. And I'm supposed to be facing it uh, and talking to the crowd. But the problem is the cable I do have that they find me is probably only like 3 to 6 inches long. So that goes straight to the equipment that's here. So I actually can't turn around. So I have to present with my back to the screen over my head, and trying to get the mouse to actually move the way your head,
Oh,
and it's always backwards. So it's always
yeah.
backwards. And I'm always clicking the wrong direction. So I'm always going backwards in the direction. I hadn't practiced this. And I just the amount of sweat that was coming off of me, like just the amount of like, because this was new to me presenting, the amount of and it was a full room. Uh, and I could hear my voice trembling. I could actually
Oh, I
hear
hate that.
the tremble, like my nerves had overridden beyond my mental capacities, but actually were actually causing physical problems. And yeah, I couldn't get out of there fast enough.
Oh,
I,
no.
I think I had just started contracting for Adobe. I couldn't get out of there fast enough. I think I couldn't get out of Savannah fast enough. Like, get me back in the car, get me the hell out of here. No, I presenting to a crowd. This is the one thing I can say: have all of your materials
Yeah.
ready. Have all your materials ready and test your files and all of that stuff, because if it can go wrong, that is the day, that is the moment it is going to go wrong. And be rest assured your body will freak the heck out. So you never know.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
I want to hear other people's disaster story.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we all have them.
Yeah, there's some good ones out there. I know that. I know there's some good ones out there. All right, so let's talk. Let's start moving over to the second thing we talk about, and it's basically a project. So we have been discussing a board game, card game, sort of slash, called Deck of the Dead. Let's give a little visual so it'll make some sense. So, Deck of the Dead, all the little pieces are in there. This is a prototype of the game that I've been playing around with and playtesting. So Erika has been helping me as a design consultant, as a user experience consultant, as a story consultant. And every time I get a little bit forward in the game, I call Erika and I go, this is where I'm at. What do you think? What are the problems? Do you see places that we can make this better? So far, we've gone through maybe, let's say 16 pages of a 40-page document that actually explains the instructions and the story and the pacing. Yesterday, we were talking about the paranormal toolkit that players would have. I'm going to go and switch over to sharing my screen so it'll make more sense of what I'm talking about. So yesterday, we were talking about the paranormal toolkit and explaining what all of these powers and abilities would be given to the players. Today, we're going to go and actually start going into gameplay and how do you play the game and what happens when you play the game, and see what Erika thinks, and see what you guys think. Again, you can always chime in. Maybe somehow we'll figure out how to do this live where people can type in. We're not there yet. We're still really figuring all of this stuff out. This isn't our primary job, so we only have so much time to spend on learning how to do the Zoom communications with you guys. All right. So the board game is set with 52 cards, or card game is with 52 cards that you can put out any way you want, right? And so in this instance, we're just showing a portion of the game just to talk about what's going to happen. You will act as a supernatural agent. You're basically a soul, and you're walking through a astral plane of a library. Okay, so this marks where the library is, and your player, your agent, we'll probably just move this out around. Moves through the library, gathering pieces and parts as they go. Now, there will be times where they're stuck, where they can't move forward. You're going to have to figure out how to move them down paths. Again, this is
and if you do get stuck, you can use something from, if you have something from your toolkit, you can.
Yes. So the toolkit actually has ways to get around this. Just know that the toolkit, those you can only use a lot of those. Well, you can use those items only once. Right. So really think about, is it worth going through this direction to lose a toolkit, or would you go and navigate around this way? Okay. The game works by moving one card at a time. So as you go, you move one card, and then you get to answer a question to turn this card face up. Do you have any questions on that? That's pretty straightforward, just this part. Okay.
And you are trying to get to the not the center, but the portal.
You're trying to find cards, and that's what we're going to talk about.
Oh, that's right. Okay, first you got to collect all your cards. Okay.
So let's talk about why you're collecting these cards. So as you're going through the game board, the astral maze, you're turning cards over, and you're looking for a certain set of cards. So the first card you're looking for is a spell. So spells are actually used as a primer card that can collect other cards. You can't collect the other cards without a spell. So the first thing you're looking for is a spell.
You have to get a spell card before anything.
Before anything. You cannot pick up a card until you find a spell card. Now, the nice thing about the spell cards is you really don't have to fight for them. You don't lose anything by going for a spell card. So they are considered beneficial cards, and there's no loss in them. You can only hold 5 spell cards in your hand, though, just so you know. When you get a 6th spell card, so let's say you find a 6th spell card, you have to actually exchange it for a card in the library. So you just keep making your hand better and better and better. The other card,
exchange it?
You have to exchange it.
You have to exchange it.
Yes. So the reason
a spell card that you already have down and pick the other one up.
Yes.
In the place of where that spell card was.
Correct. Correct. The reason being is through game testing, because you don't know how you're going to end up getting the cards. So through play testing, there have been some play tests where you're just taking everybody's spell card, and they never get to make a move because of it. So we wanted to make sure you didn't take all the spell cards away from other people. So by having 5, you give somebody else a chance. The game also, because of the way the maze is made, and it's always different, it could be in your favor or it could be not in your favor at all. You could actually wind up losing very quickly if you don't use your paranormal toolkit, because you might just get curse cards right from the start. So, and the curse cards have to be they have to be won in a certain order. And it's because they need to open the next card. So the spell card gives you enough power to subdue a cursed book card, which let me zoom into this. So let's see this a little bit better. There we go. So a spell card needs to be in your hand when you come across a cursed book card. The cursed book card is basically used to power the spell card, to actually give it more power for the cards that you're going to meet. There is a checklist here that kind of keeps you informed what order you need to go in to get these cards. So it's kind of a quick reminder. Once you get your cursed book card, this can be added to your spell card to free a possessed teacher. Okay. Possessed teacher, just so you know, is probably one of the strongest cards. So know that when you're dealing with a possessed teacher, I hope you have a lot of spells. And because the more spells you have, the more versatility you have. You can go and battle this card. We'll talk about that in a second. The possessed teacher, or the teachers, are actually guarding everything. They're making sure that everything is working in the library, and they're actually also guarding the blocked exits. So the exits, so as soon as you walk in the entrances, they become exits. So once they get blocked, you need to break those blocks. So you need to find a card, a blocked exit card, so you're able to break one of the exits so you can leave. Now, all of this is being led by these headmasters and headmistresses, and they are all powerful. And they derive their power from using people as energy, as batteries. So what you need to do is, as soon as you have an exit unblocked, you want to free one of these students, which is basically a battery. And if you can free a student, then you have weakened the headmaster or headmistress, and you can battle them. So it has to go in this specific order to actually get yourself out of the library. Okay. Questions on any of that?
Not yet.
So when you're going through the library, you're going to meet, the cards are going to be face down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So to turn the cards face up, you're going to actually have to answer a question. And those come in the form of, and I'm going to show my screen, or share my screen so you can see this a little bit better. So give me 1 second here, or stop sharing my screen. Okay. So here is a stack of questions that come with the game. Mm-hmm. Right? And what these do, sharing the screen. And what these do is they are basically locks for the cards. So they unlock the card so you can flip it. So you get a card, you have whoever you're playing with picks one of these question cards and asks you a question. Mm-hmm. That the questions, the reason we put the questions in is actually inside of folklore, or in the past of folklore, there have been a lot of supernatural events connected to questions, like the riddle of the Sphinx, in Lord of the Rings, the question game that happened with Golem. Mm-hmm. These happen, they're called neck riddles, and they're basically, you're putting your neck at risk to do this riddle. So if you get the riddle wrong, you die. If you get the riddle right, you live. That's as simple as it is. But there's a lot of research on that, and there's a lot of really good information out there if you want to look it up. So we give you a riddle to answer, or a question to answer, and if you get it right, you can move forward, and if you get it wrong, then bad things happen. But we also give you a lot of hints. And what that means is that on the actual playing card, the information, zoom in a little bit so you can see this. The information for the answers to the questions are on the cards. So the more spell cards you have, the more answers you actually have in your hand. And even if you have a spell card that isn't in your hand, and maybe the card's just turned up, face up on the board, you should look at that card. We've given you a couple of helpful hints. The cards themselves, the images on the cards actually match the images that are on the face of the card.
Okay.
So the question cards actually match the playing cards. So
Okay.
you'll notice Lorna is on both of these cards. So when you ask this question, the Lorna, can't pronounce that. Lorna is from what country? It's Mexico. You have the answer here. Lorna was so enraged with her cheating husband that she drowned her own children. She immediately regretted it and has been known as the weeping woman ever since. So there is information that is on the cards. There is pointers towards the imagery as well.
Okay.
Okay. Questions?
That's on all cards, not just spell cards.
That is on all the cards.
Okay.
Okay.
Important.
So you have to, every card has to be open.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the idea in story-wise is these spells were placed on them by the children of the dead god Osiris. So they've tried to lock this astral maze from you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't answer a question, then they're slowing you down.
Right, but it's a library, and you need to look at information and
Yes,
you can
absolutely.
read more information. Right, got it. Okay.
Right. It has been in discussion between myself and my son, and I've talked to you about this. I don't know as much as I've talked to him, that it would be great to have this collection of stories either in a book format or on a website that goes a little bit further than what we have here, so that there's actually an educational component to this of finding out more information. Kind of like a monster manual type situation. So when you go and you meet the cards or turn them over, you're actually going to see that there's a bunch of different places for information for you to battle the card. So this card is turned over correctly. So you get to see the card and you get to put this card in your hand, but you need to know what's going on. So we'll just go down from 1 to 8 and discuss it. Number 1, this doesn't have anything to do with gameplay. It's just basically an identifier of what the card is. This spell is called, it's a bit gamey spell. 2 is an important thing because these are the values that you will use to battle with. So the cards are like a regular poker deck. So you have 2 to ace, and you're basically battling your value against the value of the card you want to win. So if you're using this spell card against a curse card, you would take the values, and whoever wins that value has that value listed. The higher one wins. Number 3 is the actual information, the question information that you can use to help you later on. If you get a question card that has to do with the Wendigo, this might be able to help you. Number 4 is your checklist, just to keep reminding you, these are the things, these are the cards you need, in what order, to move forward with ending the game. Number 5 is your spell power, your curse power, or your curse penalty. So imagine spell powers and curse powers are being thrown at you. Okay? So think of them as hexes. A curse penalty is a little bit different. A curse penalty isn't an actual card that goes against you and fights you. A curse penalty can be, hey, you have to tie your shoes together or something like that. They can be anything. They could be something. Most of the time, they're just kind of goofy. Um, so the curse penalty doesn't cost as much. It's really not a card that causes damage to another card. The spell power under it. Now, these could be really, really helpful. And they're all sorts of different things. So in this one, use the person to the right to fight for you. They take the damage and you reap the rewards. So that means that the player to your right, and even if you're two players, the other player is taking all the damage. So if the card says you take 10 damage, you really don't, because that person takes 10 damage. This card is an unbeatable card, by the way, because the other person is taking the damage. You can't be hurt. But it has a little caveat that in number 8, it can only be used one time. You use it once, and then you got to put it back into the deck. You don't have to put it face down into the deck because you already opened it, but you do have to put it down into the deck. And in fact, hold on, let me just make sure. No, they have to be face down to recharge. Okay. So you still have to unlock it again to get the power of this card. Number 7 is just the imagery of the spell. That also helps you out if you're looking at a question card and that imagery matches, you can kind of go and look for the details and the information, and it'll help you. Questions on that?
So who asks the questions? Do you pick the card, and because you'll see the answer? So
no, you don't pick the card. Whatever player, there is no definitive person. What we've been doing is asking the person we want to read.
Okay.
So
you designate somebody. If you land on the card and you have to answer the riddle, you ask another player to be
read it.
Riddler.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, moving on to the next one. Mm-hmm. Now, if you fail to unlock the card, you can't get the question correct, then you will be given this evil eye token. It's basically the card has fought back and has cursed you. So these are the curses that have been placed on the cards by the children of the dead god. Now, you got to be careful about this section because it's going to sneak up on you fast. So basically, if you receive 3 curses, you're going to start down the aisle of being dead. So try not to get curses. Use your paranormal toolkit to deflect a lot of these. Be smart about what you use in your toolkit, because if you use them up too fast, you're not going to be able to replace them.
If you land on the card, is it optional to flip it? Or
no.
To answer the question? You have to answer the question.
You have to answer the question, because what happens basically is you're losing a turn because you can't move forward. You can't move past anything. So you would just be there on that card forever.
If you don't
answer
the question. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So the only way to proceed in the game is to collect cards or to reveal cards.
Okay.
So even if you don't take that card into your hand, maybe this is a card out of sequence. Maybe this is a headmaster card or a possessed teacher card. You still are showing, so you're still revealing them.
Is there another way to reveal the card? I don't remember if the toolkit had like a...
The toolkit has an unlock.
Unlock, okay.
An unlock card. The toolkit has a pass a curse card. So you can basically open this knowing right off the bat, you're just going to give the evil eye to somebody else. The toolkit also comes with they're not all questions. Some of them just say unlock. Mm-hmm. So you can open up, you can turn the card over and it just says unlock. Okay. Any other questions on that?
No, not yet.
Okay. Now, if you get the question right, but you turn over the card and it is out of sequence. So in this instance, we use a
Right, you
trap
don't have a
student.
spell card.
Right. You don't have a spell. You
Hmm.
don't have the curse in the right order.
Okay, right.
So again, you're going to have to use a paranormal toolkit card to get around getting cursed, or you're just going to take the curse and try and figure it out as you go how to keep the curses off you. Now, this is very weird, there are benefits to getting cursed. And they're hard because you have to wait till you get cursed enough to see what happens. But there's been, and I didn't know this was possible. Um, Players have used the curses to get them in a situation and then transfer all the curses to somebody else, like a weapon.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
okay.
they waited till they have just enough curses to get themselves in trouble. Like 3, they'll take 3 curses on,
Hmm.
because after 3 they get marked for death, and we'll talk about that in a second. But they'll throw it at somebody else. So remember, you can keep these as weapons,
Hmm.
but you got to be really smart about what paranormal toolkit cards you're keeping.
Right. Okay.
And remember, the person you're throwing this curse at has a bunch of paranormal toolkit cards, so they can use it because it's being used against them.
Okay.
Right? So in battling a curse, what you're going to do, if you're going for card to card, so we have a spell versus going and capturing a curse book. You're going to take the value. So the value is 10 to 4. Okay. You're going to take your roll. So the roll is 17 to 3. And you're going to take your spell power against their spell power. Now, technically, the cursed book would win with its spell power, because you see, if the cursed book rolls an odd card, they get 5 damage against you. But if they roll an even card, they would get 20 damage against you. Now, because they're going to get 20 damage, well, that's going to beat your point system here. But your spell power says that damage happens to somebody else. So
Okay.
you cannot be damaged. Yes.
Just going back, this scenario right here is you have a spell card in your hand. You have
Correct.
captured the spell card in your hand. The King of Diamonds.
Yes.
You already have it. So you can take on a curse book because that's the next thing in your sequence.
Yes.
And you landed on that card, and you answered the question. You flipped it. It's a curse book. You can take it because you have a spell in your
You have to
hand.
battle it to take it.
Battle it. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
And so you roll one die, however many faces that is.
20-sided dice.
20-sided, okay. And then you count up whatever your card has, your die has. You might have
You'd have
other things
27
that
at
add to your points, your power points, right? Or your spell points. And then who rolls the the
Red dice?
The die for the first book?
Well, if you're 2 players, it would just be the person.
The other person. Okay, so you can just like you had other person, you picked another person to ask the question, you can also pick another person, another player to be the first book rolling.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. And we've just been choosing. There is no designated.
Right. Like, okay.
Yeah, just whoever you want to choose.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So in this one, you would have won because of the nature of your spell power.
Okay. And then now, have you used that card? Because it says one time.
Now it's done. That card has to go back right back. Yes. So here's the thing. You've just lost. If you only have one spell card, you've just lost a spell card.
Spell card, but can you take the curse book?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So you will end up having uneven cards in your hand
Okay.
by certain
But you can't take the next one, which is the possessed teacher,
the
until
possessed
you
teacher.
get another spell card.
Correct. So you're locked in this weird kind of situation
Okay.
because so the way I would say that you would do it
Mhm.
is you could hope for your next move that you get a spell card. But let's say you don't. Well, if you
Mhm.
still have an appropriate card, which means you can steal a face-up card that's in the maze, or you can steal from any other player. So if you know another player has a spell card, you just use the appropriate to steal it from them, or you
Okay.
steal it from a
So
face.
you're kind of gonna know what other people are picking up by memory. Like
Yes,
if your
absolutely.
memory is good.
Yes.
Are you holding your
Depends what you want to do. You do not have to. You do not have to hold it hidden.
Mhm.
You can show it, or you do either or. It is not forced upon the player.
Okay. Because what if can what if you cheat and say, I'm gonna get I'm gonna get the possessed teacher because I have spell and cursed, but you don't because you're not showing.
At the at the end, when you battle, you have
Mhm.
to show the cards you're battling with.
Okay.
So you can't say I'm going to take the possessed teacher. You have to show those two cards that you have that you're going to
Oh,
use.
okay. Okay, at the battle, you have to show what you're
Yes, the
battling
cards
with.
you're using.
Got
Yes.
it. Got
Yeah.
it. Okay.
That's how we keep you from cheating on that part.
Yeah.
But you don't have to show the other cards in your hand.
Right. Okay. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. You don't have to show the other cards. And it is up to the other person to keep count of what you have.
Hmm.
So they might forget that you have 5 spells. You
Right.
know, and what
Right.
major spells you have. Perfect example, this spell, it's a gamey spell, might be a spell you do not use until you need it.
Hmm.
Like that's something you don't want to burn out quickly.
Right. Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
okay?
So now this is how you collect your other cursed
Yes.
cards in sequence
Yes.
by battling with a spell card.
Correct. So you always have to have a spell card. There always has to be a spell card in your hand. So if you, a perfect example, I played a game where I got all my cards except for one, and Christian appropriated my cursed book card because he knew everybody had a cursed book. So there are 4 cursed book cards, and he took mine and he got rid.
Oh,
Right. So then I had to go back and go through the whole process to find it again.
wait. But if there's only four, so there's only four cursed.
Right. Yeah, there's only 4 cursed books. So if 4 people have 4 cursed books and you're one of them,
And
and
he
a
took.
person
So
takes a cursed
what?
book,
So you cannot battle, or you cannot.
well, he has to still put it back in the deck because he can't hold 2 curses at a time. So that means he took my curse, he's got 2, and then he can put it anywhere in the library he wants. So if I'm
Okay.
all the way on one side of the library, he can put it all the way on the other side of the library, and I am going to have to move to that card to get it.
Okay. So
In
okay.
fact, let me
So
keep talking.
you can
If
have
this helps out visually,
you
I
can have
was basically
multiple spell cards in your hand.
5 spell cards in your hand.
You can sorry, yeah, up to five spell cards in your hand, but you can only have one of the other, one of
Correct.
each. And you
Correct.
have to if you get another of those cursed whatever or possessed teacher, you have to give up
Okay.
the old one.
Yes. But you choose where to put it in the library.
Okay.
And you choose to, and it's face down. So it's
Okay.
basically, like I said, if I'm over here, let's say I'm on this card,
So
and he
you have to try to remember where he put it.
exactly, and if he's smart, okay, let's say he took it by an appropriate card. He took that card, and then on the next round, he goes and takes a morph, and then he starts shuffling the maze around. So now you're dealing with a shell game type of situation. Yeah, it's not easy to get that card back, because it's not just a simple memory, and who knows if the other agents want to change the board around even more. So things can easily be kept from you. It just depends on the players. Depends how they want to play. So there have been some really good in playtesting. There have been some really evil things done to each other, so far as taking cards and keeping them away from you, or giving them to somebody else.
You can decide. So, sorry, going back to the beginning of the gameplay, you have to decide if you're collaborative.
No, you can decide. You can change if you're collaborative or not collaborative throughout the game.
Okay.
There's nothing that's telling you that you have to be. Only if the dossier says this is.
If you're going by the dossier,
yeah,
then you have to follow that. But otherwise,
it's a free for all.
It's a free for all. You could be collaborative. You could change your mind during the game.
Now, what I've noticed what I've noticed in personalities, if there is a boyfriend-girlfriend combo or a partner combo, they're always collaborative.
Not me and my husband.
Well, that's so the funny thing is, Christian and I are always fighting against each other. My son, we go into the game, and the whole thing is, my goal here is to tear you down, because he's better than me at game mechanics. So the only thing that I can do is slow him down. And it's like, my job is to just slow you down. I'm like a mole agent. Like, there's no way I'm going to win. I already know it going into the game. So yeah, it really does depend on, that's why I didn't want to put characters like hardcore, like this is what this character is like. Because I wanted freedom of choice when you're playing. Like, you're not playing as a good guy or a bad guy. You're just playing as someone who wants their body back. And your motivation has to be your own personal motivation.
Okay.
And if you're gonna collaborate, you better be really smart in your strategy, because you have to move at the same.
I want to know, and this is probably later on. I'm interested in what the end game is. Like, what is a win and what is a loss. So
right.
It all depends on that
yes.
to motivate me. Do I want to be competitive, or do I want to be collaborative? So
I thought the best game that I've played so far, I played with Amy and Juan. And for people out there watching this, Amy and Juan are friends of both of ours. And Juan was collaborative. He was collaborative, but he wanted to win. So he helped you, and in helping you, he helped himself. So he became de facto team leader. He didn't say it on team leader. I said, oh, you could do this, this, and this. Oh, I'm going to do this, this, and this. So he shared all of his moves, and it was a fun game. It was like, he won, but it didn't feel like a competition.
Yeah.
It really felt like he was giving you the opportunity to win as well. But it was a great strategy. It was absolutely a great strategy. This last game we played, it was Knives Out. It was absolutely gunning for each other constantly, and trying to figure out what the other person is thinking and what their motivation is. So yeah, it's different depending on the players. It is absolutely different depending on who's at the table.
Okay. All right.
The other things to consider is that you still have these special agent cards. So in here, neutralize a power on a club's card. So let's go back and watch both cards. So if you have a club, you could neutralize this power. So this power of damage of 5, damage of 20, you're neutralizing. It doesn't even exist. If you're Agent Spades, you're neutralizing a value on a Spades card. And if you're Agent Diamonds, you're neutralizing a roll on a Diamonds card. So that means if the cards match up where you need them to match up to your Agent suit, then just use that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to give you an advantage. And you still have the Agent Geist card, so who knows what variable that's going to add. So when you're battling, you're using all the elements of the actual playing card. You're using your special abilities on your card, and you're using whatever paranormal toolkit card that you want that could be useful for this. So you have a lot of ways of winning for the card. Okay, so we said we would go through one row, and we did. So how much time do you want to end it here?
I think we're good. I think we're at a good time to end it. So
Okay. So any last questions before we go?
let's see. Okay. Why playing cards? What
So
not game, not because why in the story is it playing?
okay, I'm going to tell you the story inside the story.
Okay.
When we were working on an idea, you remember we were working on Backlot 360. So if anybody, I'll put that link up. Backlot 360 was 360-degree backgrounds that could be used in your own projects. Well, I had told Christian if he had any free time to build me some 360 backgrounds. And he had chosen a library. Remember the background that we all liked?
Mm-hmm.
Well, on one of those tables in those 360 scenes he gave me, there's a deck of playing cards. And my mind just exploded with like, that's a haunted deck of playing cards. What the hell? We need to make a haunted deck of playing cards. And I had a deck of playing cards, and I just started writing on them. I just started writing on them and just came up with a game, and the story aspect of it came later. And the story aspect is this. You technically, these are astral cards, remember? So the physical cards, you can't see them. They're sitting in the library. This whole thing is sitting in the library as a regular deck of cards. Mm-hmm. But the people in the library, the agents that have gone through the library, have enchanted, the children of the dead god have enchanted cards and placed them all throughout the library in books and under desks. And that's where the spells all live. So you're kind of walking around picking up real cards and dealing with their astral form.
So somewhere in the backstory, the cult members,
yes,
have spelled these cards and put
correct,
it for whatever reason.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a lot of backstory involved that can't really be put into the game. That will be in the dossier though. There will be things that you find out why, for example, perfect example, why the playing cards.
Right.
Why do they exist? And why are some of the curse penalties goofy? Like that doesn't make sense. Well, it happens that one of these guys who are agents for cast are not agents that they were agents their whole life. They just happen to be dead. Oh, so they're just people. So some of them, and they've been fighting this fight for years. This is not like the first time they're doing this.
Oh, so not the cult didn't leave the cards.
No, the cult, there's the spells. So the spells are left by the cast agents. The curses are left by the children of the dead.
Gotcha. Okay, got it. I got it. Okay.
Some of the curses have been
for whatever reason in the backstory, cards were selected as the holders of whatever power.
Kind of like magic wands.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense because, like, cards, not just playing cards, but like tarot, whatever. Cards. you
Yeah.
know, cards are used in supernatural, paranormal
Yes.
um methods, you know, whatever. So yeah, it makes sense. I just wanted to know why playing like poker cards, playing cards with.
Well, the funny thing you mentioned it is when I chose the poker cards, it wasn't because of the supernatural, but when I researched the house suits, it's all about the supernatural.
Oh,
The
really?
diamonds,
Okay.
oh my goodness, the diamonds, the spades, the hearts, they all have a supernatural meaning to them.
Okay. Very
So
nice.
it kind of shored itself up as I was building the game, like,
Hmm.
oh, cool. That's why they became the agents.
Hmm.
So the cards were just as a device, but then when it
Yes, yeah.
became then when I found it, it's kind of like the question cards. Remember the question cards? Why were they added? I have no idea. I just liked the thought of it. And then,
The riddles, like
but I didn't know that at
right,
first until I
right.
did the research, and I was like, oh my, all of this
Did you
as
really go, oh my?
I did say, oh my,
Oh my.
oh my. Uh, it started making sense. So we tomorrow remind me of this, and let's have a conversation about subconscious planning.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Yes,
Okay.
subconscious design and
We're gonna
subconscious
go a
story.
little woo woo tomorrow, huh?
It's going to be a little, yeah, we're
Gonna
going
get
to
some
go a little woo.
incense and some candles and
Oh, we are so going incense and candles.
oh.
We're going to go down the road of hippiness. It will be a very, very odd topic to
Okay.
discuss.
Can't wait.
I think with that we're done, right?
So yeah, yeah. So let's say thanks for, you know,
Thanks
listening and
again.
watching, to our audience, to the viewers, and check out our Patreon,
Yeah.
patreon.com/Dean Velez.
Yep.
Right, that's your Patreon.
And
And
I'll put all the websites. So ericataguchi.com
mm-hmm, yep.
is your website. And I'll make sure that yesterday was bad. I was so late with everything.
Oh yeah,
I didn't make any links. I didn't make any tags. Today I think we have more than enough time to do
cool.
that. Okay. All
Okay.
right. I'll
Have a
see you.
good day.
All right. Bye.